to the Secrets of the Rabbit Hole Media Network. This is a Secrets of the Rabbit Hole podcast. And I'm your host, David D. Harrison, along with my cousin, Kori McCoy.
Together, we speak the unspoken on police misconduct and provide a platform for impacted families to share their truth. How deep does the rabbit hole go?
Let's talk about it. Well, today, Friday, March the 12th, 2021. Let's go back to February 9th, 2021, the second anniversary for my cousin, Willie McCoy Jr. A lot of people showed up for this rally in Sacramento at the state capitol. It was a powerful, powerful event, people. We had Tamir Rice's mother. We had Beatrice Simpson. They helped put the thing together, along with Jamila Land, along with a lot of impacted families that showed up. We had the Foster family. We had the Ramos family. We had the Nunez family. If I leave anybody out right now, Cole, I'm sure you'll pick it up for me. But,
for sure. The family of Mario Romero definitely comes to mind.
Come on, man. First on the scene.
Stephon Clark, the family of Stephon Clark.
Sequette did a marvelous presentation. Along with Dion, she came out from Stockton, California.
Yeah.
I also want to thank all of the media showed up. A lot of media people. Absolutely.
And you mentioned Dion. We do want to give a shout out to her son, James Rivera Jr.
Yes, sir. Shout out to James Rivera Jr. RIP to all of our fallen sons that have failed in the United States of America.
And we did have an opportunity to embrace, unfortunately, a couple of new families. We want to give a shout out to the Sutherland family, a shout out to the Augustine family.
Welcome to the family. This is the family that no one wants to be a part of. But guess what? I'm so thankful to God that we have each other right now during this trying time. There's a lot of things that have happened since then. I'm going to let you take it, Kori, and just tell the people some of the updates that are happening now.
Right. So, cousin, during previous shows, we have mentioned that not only losing Willie to the Vallejo police, but we also have had other family members come into contact with the Vallejo Police Department. And quite frankly, what shocks a lot of people has now become confirmed to us, things that we always believed all along. Back in January of 2019, our cousin, Michael Walton, was visiting a relative of his, Adrian Burrell, out in Vallejo. He was pulled over at gunpoint by Vallejo Officer McLaughlin. Many of you have seen the video. Cuz, do you kind of want to maybe give a description of what took place in this incident?
Well, little Michael Walton, my little cousin, he was on his motorcycle when an officer came behind him and drew his weapon. No, I mean, this guy's, my little cousin's on a motorcycle. He has a helmet on. You can see around him that he's unarmed, and this officer deems it necessary to draw his weapon on little Mikey. Well, Adrian is on the porch and looking through the window, so he comes to the porch and he pulls out his cell phone and he starts to record, which, that's how a lot of this stuff is captured on tape. And when he starts to record, he angered the officer, McLaughlin, and he told him, he said, "Go back in the house." Adrian says, "No, he can't hear you. He has his helmet on. Just you gotta calm down, just calm down." The officer said, "Go back in the house." He said, he said, "No." So the officer put his gun back in his holster, turned his back to Mikey, and went on the porch and assaulted Adrian. So this was all captured.
It's all captured on video. For those of you that haven't seen it, one point that I think is pertinent is Officer David McLaughlin, 2 months prior to this incident with our relative, Officer McLaughlin was off duty in Walnut Creek, California, at a mall. And upon entering, before he entered the mall, he's in the parking lot, and there's video of this incident as well. There is a young man, boy, I believe by the name of Santiago Hutchins, if I'm not mistaken, cousin. He's coming out of
jungle. It was a place for kids that they were at, like a pizza place.
Yes. So, like, was it the jungle or whatever?
Jungle.
Okay, so Mr. Hutchins, a Latino gentleman, has exited out of the facility. They are crossing each other walking, and they lock eyes. And Officer McLaughlin is like, "What the fuck you looking at?" Mr. Hutchins is, "What the fuck you looking at?" And it's some back and forth type of shit like that. And it escalates to the point to where Officer McLaughlin, who is off duty, he's not in the city that he polices, he immediately pulls his service pistol and draws down on Mr. Hutchins. For several minutes, he holds Mr. Hutchins at gunpoint as the Walnut Creek police are called to the scene. When the Walnut Creek police get there, Officer McLaughlin identifies himself as a police officer. He actually was in shorts and a white tee. Once Mr. Hutchins is handcuffed down on the ground, you can see where Officer McLaughlin comes in and slams Mr. Hutchins' face into the ground at least 3 more times. Bloody and
that was an assault, cuz he was assaulted, and he drew his weapon in a place where it was crowded with children. So these guys are gangsters.
Right. And so when we're sharing this first incident in January of 2019 with our cousin Little Mikey and our relative Adrian Burrell, we're trying to describe the character and the history of this officer who just a few months prior was involved in this incident in Walnut Creek. Now, we move forward. February 2019, February 9th, my cousin just spoke on, we just got through acknowledging the second anniversary for my little brother Willie, who was executed by 6 Vallejo police officers at a Taco Bell drive-through as he lay asleep behind the wheel of his car. Many people in our family were like, "Damn, you guys are catching some bad luck. We saw what happened with your cousin. Your little brother just got executed. It's on video for people to see." And we're like, "Yeah, damn, we're still going through the minutia of the false narrative that has been put out by the authorities about Willie's case. And it's a lot. It's a lot, cousin."
Yeah, and one of the things is that we want to get into is about Diana. Diana is my baby cousin, which is my cousin Kori, his daughter. She was targeted, and we knew that we were kind of being targeted as well because we went to a city council meeting, and you have police there that are the same ones who killed Lil Willie are there.
So let's talk about what we do know, cousin. Because, you and I, we definitely could spend a lot of time speculating, but that is, we do some speculation on our podcast, on this platform, but let's talk about what we do know, because we really like to talk about the facts that seem to go unnoticed or unacknowledged. What we do know is immediately after Willie was murdered, our family was at city council meetings, protesting, and we were coming out there in numbers. My daughter Diana my niece, Dejana, were two of the more boisterous people in our family speaking out for what happened to Willie. That's what we can tell you occurred. Moving forward, 2 months after Willie's murder, we're in probably mid-April, my daughter Diana was coming home from Vallejo with 3 other friends. There was a Vallejo police car that had someone pulled over. And as my daughter and her friends rode down the street, bumping their music loudly, a light was shined on them. And they immediately began to slow down because it was like, damn, the police just shined a light on us. And as they even began to slow down, they were already, the police had left the other people that they had pulled over, and they were behind my daughter and her friends. Many of you have seen this incident. It is on social media. My daughter was asked for her ID. As she began to look for her ID, upon realizing that she had left it in another bag, she was told that she was resisting when she was not resisting. The officer reached through the window, grabbed her arm, initially tried to yank her through the window, then pulled her out of the car, dragged her on the ground. 2 big, over 200-pound police officers, knees in her back. My daughter is 110 pounds, dripping wet, maybe 5 feet tall. She was then tased in her back and in her arm multiple times. She was then falsely arrested, kidnapped, and I say kidnapped because another police car came and blocked her friends from following her to where she was being taken. She was taken to Kaiser Hospital. She was then taken to the Solano County Jail in Fairfield.
And another thing, they sent the bill for the medical bill to my cousin.
And they sent her mother and myself the bill from Kaiser. There are some details about what happened to her along the way when she got to Solano County Jail that my cousin and I will be talking about in a future podcast. Right now, what we are going to let you know, and we have known this probably since the time this happened to Diana, but we have kept quiet about it because it has taken the Vallejo Police Department almost 2 years to finally give us a copy of the police report. We received the copy of the police report a few weeks ago, and what we knew all along was confirmed that the two officers that were responsible for doing this to my daughter, pulling her over, brutalizing her, tasing her, kidnapping her, falsely arresting her, are 2 of the very same officers that executed my younger brother, Diana's uncle, Willie, back on February 9th. Officer Jordan Patzer and Officer Colin Eaton is the officer that tased my daughter. They were the 2 officers that yanked her out of the car, put their knee in her back, and they are 2 of the very same, cousin, 2 of the 6 that murdered Willie.
Well, we have to ask the question, are these incidents coincidence, or are these people being targeted? Is our family being targeted by these officers? And we can't answer the question because we're not doing the investigation. But what we will not have is police officers who commit these crimes, because Diana was taken after being tortured and put through all of that stun tasing and snatched through the window and all of that. This scared little girl was taken to a police station where she was then released without being charged with anything. That's a kidnap. Whenever you move a person 2 feet against their will, it's considered a kidnapping. Now, what is the difference between these rogue officers who are a part of the Fatal 14 and now known that they're a part of a ritual called badge bending, which you have to have a kill to be a part of this club. So imagine the terror going through my little cousin, and this is all done as a tactic to prevent the family from speaking out about what happened to little Willie. And when we put all of this stuff together, and when you look at it, it's enough to make you blow your top. And one thing that one thing that I really, really wanted to key in on is that we cannot allow for things like this to continue happening and no one is held culpable, and no one has been held culpable in the situations that have happened in Vallejo, and there have been ongoing situations. We've listed so many people who have been murdered in Vallejo by these same officers.
Yes, and cousin, I think that one thing we also need to mention is that the harassment, what comes with speaking out against the Vallejo Police Department, you are definitely putting yourself and your family in the line of fire. And
you're in danger. You're in danger for sure, because in Vallejo, you're dealing with an ongoing criminal conspiracy. These guys have a hierarchy. They can get you kicked out. People not rent to you. There's been things. I mean, in Willie's case, Taco Bell was torn down to the studs and built Starbucks in less than 2 months.
And cousin, we want to let the people know that in the near future, we are going to be profiling certain families that have experienced this police violence in Vallejo, California. Families that can speak to what we're talking about with what comes after you decide to take a stand against the system. And you start showing up at these Vallejo City Council meetings and you speaking your truth and you're representing what happened to your family from the other side, showing that no, these narratives that the Vallejo City Council and city government and police department are putting out are not lining up. And when you begin to speak on these things, we'll have the Ramos family come on and speak about the harassment that they have endured since their loved one Angel was murdered by VPD in 2017.
We'll also have the Romero family on. We'll have Cindy Mitchell, and she'll tell you about the harassment and things that have gone down, as well as Chris. She'll tell you things that have happened. We'll talk to Alicia Ramos, like you said, and we could also talk to the Foster family, because a lot of people don't know that a lot of these guys that were victimized and are not here today were threatened before they were murdered by police. Yeah, Willie was threatened. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when me and my cousins went in to watch the video along with my dad and Jamie Summers, who waited in the lobby, when we, upon exiting the police station, a police officer came to me and said to me, hey, you know what? What's your name? And I told him, hey, my name's David. He said, oh, hey, David, be safe out there.
Cousin, they absolutely threatened us on the way out.
Yeah, they're making threats. Listen, people, you're not safe in Vallejo when the police department, who is murdering people, has 60% of the city's budget. They could off you just like that. Yeah, and they do it too. Ronell Foster shot in the back, and then in the back of the head like that several times.
And we urge people to if these things are making you shake your head, do a little homework when you're in your spare time. Do a little research. Look up what happened to Jared Huey and how his family was harassed and literally intimidated into silence. Marshall Tobin, the list goes on. Ever Ramon Martinez. Look at how they
Let's talk about Anton Barrett now. When Anton Barrett was murdered, the police loosely, and I mean real loosely, used the N-word and kicked it around, and
Absolutely.
they're just heartless. These are heartless people. And the thing about it is with me and my cousin will vouch for me, what we have a problem with is we seen the big crowds that came out for George Floyd. It was because it was very, very upsetting to see someone with their knee for close to 8 minutes on a person's neck. However, to see a person executed while sleeping, to see families terrorized in Vallejo, why not we show up in droves like we did for George Floyd for this situation? And it's boggling my mind because we're dealing with criminals, with a gang that wears a badge, who kills people to put a bend inside of that badge. And when you deal with
we are dealing with serial criminals.
When you deal with people like that, it's not about them targeting one individual. Anyone will do for this ritual. And most people don't know that Ronell Foster and Willie McCoy were both killed in the month of February in Black History Month. And just the ongoing slaughtering of Black and brown men in Vallejo in such a short period of time, it seems like purging to me. And I said this in the beginning, and I'll continue to say it until we get some convictions, that these officers are equivalent to serial killers.
And so, cousin, I think we're going to leave it right there.
And that's what made me want to be a part of it. Excessive force.
Stop hitting me. Get down. Police ain't here to protect us.
There, as far as our family and updating the people on what happened with Dayana, as well as little Mikey and Adrian. What we want to kind of jump into next, as far as just catching up with everyone on what's been taking place. Just today, cousin, Lieutenant Michael Nicolini, who we have definitely done our share of conversating about, he has filed a lawsuit today against the city of Vallejo. He named a number of people, city manager Nyoff, chief of police Shawnee Williams. It was a host of names that named in his lawsuit. And I guess they are in the process of trying to fire him. So it's starting to look like
he's destroying evidence in cases, and he's been busted. He's a risk.
Right, and so he was currently suspended for destroying evidence in the Sean Monterosa case. Although I guess coming out in his announcement today that he is filing a case against the city of Vallejo, he in some way is denying that he was responsible for the windshield being replaced.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe, we can't put nothing past Nicolini. Nicolini he's family orientated. He's very well connected. He's Fatal 14 to the core. Anything he says, you can't believe.
And cousin, you and I, we have definitely had an ongoing conversation with each other, and we have had faith in the fact of us feeling strongly, very strongly, that as these incidents continue to unfold and these facts continue to come out, one after the other, of just mind-blowing things taking place within the Vallejo Police Department, cover-ups within the city government, as well as the Solano County District Attorney's Office. We have always been steadfast that at some point it was going to come a time where the rubber was going to meet the road, and we were going to have people that were going to start having to save themselves.
Turn on each other.
And going to have to start turning on each other.
They're turning.
What people need to know with Michael Nicolini is that this is possibly the most powerful man in Vallejo, powerful person in Vallejo. And we're talking about the president of the Vallejo Police Officers Association, which is their union. He is in the command staff, rank of lieutenant. He's one of the top 6 or 7 guys in the whole department. His father is the former chief of police in the city of Vallejo, but more importantly, since his father has left his position as chief of police in Vallejo, he has taken a position working for the law firm that represents the Vallejo Police Union.
This is a cold guy, ladies and gentlemen, not to mention that his father was in Oakland during the Riders period.
Yes.
So think about the culture that he from Oakland, from the Riders culture to Vallejo to the Fatal 14 movement. So we gotta look deep and delve deep into this culture of these blue murders that have been happening, because a lot of people out here are are being shocked. Like, why isn't this in the news if there is there's a such thing as the Fatal 14 and a gang and they're doing badge bending? Why isn't it in the news? So that's one thing that we have to address, Cole. We got to address, why isn't mainstream
Well, and
media?
you know, cousin, and I think that we have to just continue to repeat we're going to be very repetitive. You just brought up the senior Nicolini and how he had a previous stop in Oakland. And I think it's worth saying again that when he came to Vallejo as the chief of police in Vallejo, one of the first things he did, he replaced the type of badge that they had been using in Vallejo, and he changed it to a badge that had been being used in Oakland, which had 6 points around it, 6 corners. And so when we're talking about badge bending, the Nicolinis definitely fall into line with when you start connecting these dots of, wow, the badge bending, the riders from Oakland, the influx of officers that Oakland was getting rid of to clean up their police department, and how a more than a handful of them found themselves landing in Vallejo, cousin.
Yeah, and it's part of that culture. He's bringing the culture of cops being criminals to Vallejo, and there's a right. You have to be initiated into this fraternal order, and one of the things is that you have to have a kill on duty. And so in doing so, we have a slew of Black and brown bodies in Vallejo, and we have time and time again seeing these incidents treated like isolated incidents, versus the big problem that it is that we have some officers who are, the equivalent of serial killers.
So, cousin, so I would like to address that, because I know you and I, we hear often people are like you said, almost in shock. Well, so what are you, they're in disbelief. Like, are you saying that these officers are going out intentionally going to look for that person to kill? What we are telling you is that these officers are prepared to take advantage of any situation should they come upon it with the intent of potentially getting a bend in their badge, which will raise them up a notch in a gang, the Fatal 14, a gang within the police department. We are telling you that these officers, once they're out and they've been called or drawn to a situation, what they then do is they take advantage of this situation to create circumstances, people, that they can then use to murder someone and come back and try to justify it by these very same circumstances that they have created.
They're looking for a loophole. Every stop that they take, they're looking for a loophole to murder you. And by murdering someone on duty and getting that bend in their badge gives them rank in the Fatal 14 and gives them some status. So here's the thing. The thing about it is that I'm wondering why mainstream media is not reporting on this. If they're not reporting on it, mainstream media, it's because they're complicit with it. Are they being goaded by police officers associations? Are they being manipulated some way?
I think what you're tapping into.
Let me say this, because we wanted to put up a billboard, and Clear Channel decided that Willie had a gun on his lap. And again, I don't want to have to keep addressing this. No one has seen a weapon as of yet, not even up to today. From February 9th, 2019, when Willie was murdered, we didn't see a gun then. And here it is, Friday, March the 12th, 2021. We still haven't seen a gun.
And let's be clear, cousin. When we say we haven't seen a gun, we want to see a gun on Willie's lap. We're not talking about the next day in the daylight when they took a picture at the crime scene after placing a gun where they wanted to place it and now they want to show a crime scene photo of a gun. It was broad daylight when they took that picture. So we all know how the history of the Vallejo Police Department manipulates crime scenes.
And destroys evidence.
And destroys evidence.
Yeah, and Willie was killed at nighttime. It was raining. We showed up shortly after Willie was executed. Myself, my father, may he rest in peace. He was killed in a head-on collision in September the 6th. We were there, and the thing about it is that my cousin Mark, my cousin Boo Boo, we were all out there, my cousin Sheik, and we did not leave that crime scene until the car was towed away and until the police and until the meat wagon took Willie away.
And in every video, cousin, we've been over the original videos that they released. We've been over the more recently released uncut versions of the video. Not in any version of the video can you see a gun. From Willie sitting in the car, to Willie being shot, to Willie being pulled out of the car, at no time can you see a gun anywhere.
Well, let me take a second, because I just want to reiterate, here on the Secrets of the Rabbit Hole Media Network, me and my cousin Cole, on behalf of the Willie McCoy Foundation, have even offered $100 to anyone who can show us the gun in the videos. It was 6 body cams. Out of 6 body cams.
And cousin, let me just say this though, cousin. And if somebody can show us the gun, right? You know what I'll say, cousin? I'll say he was still executed. He was still shot away.
He had a bazooka.
He was still incoherent.
He got a gun on his lap. It doesn't matter.
But what my cousin and I are saying is that we are not willing to go with the police narrative of he had a gun when we don't see one and can't see one in any of the videos, in any of them. 6 body cams, 27 videos. Can't see a gun in any of them. The only time you can see a gun is in a photo of an evidence bag with a gun in it.
Well, the reason why I say Willie didn't have a gun and we never seen a gun, because it makes the video that we watch when we watch Willie being executed, it helps us to understand what's going on. Once we put Badge Bending into the scenario, we know what happened.
So
before
make the people
Bending came in, we was wondering, like, what the fuck are they doing?
So cousin,
I know they didn't just shoot him, you're shot, but when you know that badge bending, that these police were all trying to get a bend in their badge.
And so that's what my cousin has been eloquently over the last several months. He has eloquently been trying to explain this to people. You have to wrap your mind around this. No gun, no gun. Yet they're surrounding the car, guns drawn, creating a circumstance. Remember, this is what they do. They create circumstances that they can then use to justify murdering someone and get away with it.
Well, cuz, let's talk about the things that are not talked about. Because see, I was always told to pay attention to the elephant in the room. We ain't talking about it. Why aren't there why hasn't it never been mentioned about the passenger window with the tape? That's not even in the, they don't even mention that in the report. Because one of their reasons for not gaining interest to the vehicle was, oh, we tried to unlock the door and the doors were unlocked. We couldn't get in the vehicle. How could you not get in the vehicle when there's no window on the passenger side? It's plastic.
Yes.
So again, when we look at that, see, the thing about it is I'm trying to take the elephant out of the room, which is the gun. The gun is the elephant in the room that we don't see. We're taught to be like this. Hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil. We all have the evidence in front of us. We have the video. We've all watched it. We all didn't see a gun. Because see, when you remove the gun, then it doesn't become bad policing or bad training. It becomes criminal, because why are you standing around a car with a sleeping man unarmed and shooting him like that? They can't explain that one away.
And so, you know, cousin,
plant evidence.
Yeah.
So let me say this one last thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So if we're willing to destroy evidence, it's not above us to manufacture evidence and plant evidence and write false police reports.
And you know, cousin, we're gonna leave it right there. I just want to quickly mention that this past Tuesday night, Vallejo City Council meeting, they were trying to push through a $90 million project for a new police building on the waterfront. It was held up for right now. It's kind of in limbo, as they can't get that one swing vote that they need to push it through. But I just wanted to quickly mention before we leave, because when you hear Vallejo City Council people, because you mentioned something a minute ago about training and officer training. And when you hear Vallejo City Council people talk about, well, you know, our police officers, they've never had the implicit bias training and things of that nature, you know, people, don't go for it. You know, don't go for the bullshit. You can't teach a racist how not to be racist. So for the council member and members that are telling the people that these officers can be retrained, cousin, you can't retrain these murderers, man.
It's not an issue of retraining. It's an issue of culpability, and it's an issue where we need to start prosecuting officers and making examples out of some of these people. And that is the only way that we'll be these blue murders.
And a brand new police station is not going to make these killers stop killing.
That's not going to help. That's going to influence them. What you're doing is you know, you're giving presents and to people who don't deserve a present. You know what I'm saying? You're giving accolades to people who don't deserve them. You know what I'm saying? So what it's just like you having a kid and you giving a kid a gift because he busted a window or he snatched the old lady's purse, and you're gonna, you know, accommodate him with a reward. You're rewarding him for bad behavior. So why would we reward police officers for bad behavior? Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me and my cousin Kori.
Everyone, for joining us on this episode of the Secrets of the Rabbit Hole podcast.
And this has been a segment of the Secrets of the Rabbit Hole Media Network. And if you'd like to donate, you can Cash App us at thesecretsoftherabbithole.com or just leave us an email at truth@thesecretsoftherabbithole.com. And please leave a donation to the Willie McCoy Foundation at the WillieMcCoyFoundation.com. We are the change.
Thanks to everyone for joining us on this episode of the Secrets of the Rabbit Hole podcast.
And this has been a segment of the Secrets of the Rabbit Hole Media Network. And if you'd like to donate, you can Cash App us at thesecretsoftherabbithole.com or just leave us an email at truth@thesecretsoftherabbithole.com. And please leave a donation to the Willie McCoy Foundation at the WillieMcCoyFoundation.com. We are the change.
My mama ain't gonna spend one night in jail. Her blood raw, that's loyalty and royalty. That's bloodline, publishings and royalties. Now peep the line to the double helix in the logo. And on top of the press ons, the bald egos. Like a mix between the Machiavelli and the Migos. Like Steph Curry, I miss no threes or no free throws. It ain't easy being Chester Cheetos like them Cheetos. Yeah, and a nigga be all about them Fritos. The world's a